Ahoy! Captain Benzie here, coming at you with an Acting on Instinct video, the series that seeks to strap a rocket to your gameplay in Command & Conquer Rivals and send it into the stratosphere. Don't worry, gameplay doesn't need air, it'll be fine up there. I hope. This weekend is Rivals Champions, so I would wholeheartedly recommend going back over my video of what works on these three maps and how Champions runs. That video analyses the three maps that were in Champions before. Most of the info therein is still correct, but this weekend Blindspot is going to be swapped out for a new map called Tide Pools. This video that you're watching now intends to cover the new Tide Pools map, and to explain how this map replacing Blindspot will change the expected meta of Rivals Champions. Seriously, go check out the Champions map video. I've linked it in the description below. I'll wait. Done that? Good. Then let's get going. So this sandy paradise on your screen now is Tide Pools. Put your pina colada down, things are about to get serious. As always, the first thing to note is the placement of the Tiberium fields. On this map they're really open and they're far away from the pads. Double harvester decks are therefore likely to suffer heavily on this map, due to how easy it is to pressure your opponent's harvesters. Not to mention that the fourth Tiberium field is right on your opponent's side of the map. Speaking of pads, these are both 4-tile pads, which, as I've discussed before, are tough to hold and easy to contest. Fighting on both of these pads is going to be intense. Why? Well, if you're scouting, you'll want to scout along your Tiberium field line. This actually pushes you right to your opponent's side of the map. Holding their pad helps protect your harvester from aggression, but it's also quick for them and tough for you to reinforce. There's going to be a lot of back and forth, kinda like, you know, the tides. However, losing control of your own pad also gives your opponent a great staging point to attack from both sides in a pincer movement. More on this later. These lakes divide your paths of movement. You'll need to send ground units north or south on creation, and it's tough to move between the north and south sides due to the heavy choke points. Air units therefore will work nicely on this map. If you are thinking that this map might finally save you from 2 range units, think again. These 4 tiles in the middle are great for MLRS units. They're easy to defend and they cover several key approaches. Giga Cannons aren't quite as useful, simply due to the silo blocking their line of sight to the other side, which doesn't happen for the MLRS, lucky GDI. These lakes also form a real problem for you if your opponent pushes forwards. If they manage to get a 2-range unit onto this tile, it's hard to shift out and will wreck your harvesters. You need to keep your opponent on their half of the map whilst advancing onto their side. It's going to be down to the wire for most launches, with timely contests of their pad whilst holding your own that will cause the launches. So what units do I reckon will work here? What are some good deck choices? Well, the GDI MLRS deck are still going to continue to be powerful here, just due to the sheer number of choke points. I would recommend bringing air units too to both deal with these and to be able to contest your opponent's pads quickly. War Dog's fast movement is going to be very useful here too, but I'd be intrigued to see how the GDI No Harvester deck does. Now, I'm not going to recommend it overall due to how difficult it can be to play, but it's going to be interesting. For Nod, air seems like a good choice due to its freedom of movement and the difficulty of ground anti-air units to properly maneuver into position. Infernos, possibly even Basilisks if you can get them out, could do really well here. So that's Tide Pools, but how does swapping out Blindspot for this map affect the overall meta of Rivals Champions this time round? Well, Blindspot was a big weakness for ground aggro decks in previous Champions runs, and whilst Tide Pools isn't exactly great for this playstyle, ground aggro is better here than it was there. Considering ground aggro works on the other maps nicely, this should mean it'll work overall in Champions this time round. Air decks, as you would guess, will continue to be decent, and 2-range decks like the War Dog MLRS one doing its rounds currently on the meta will also be very strong. Rush decks will suffer overall. Tide pools isn't great for them, and neither is Hold the Line due to how obvious a rush will be due to the pad positioning, and how close the Tiberium is to your base, making it very easy to defend your harvesters. Tech decks, they could be viable due to how long the pads are likely to be contested on tide pools, and how easy it is to defend your harvesters and hold the line and tug of war. But due to the openness of the Tiberium fields, and that eventually your harvester is going to roll onto their side of the map in tide pools, it's going to be a risky strategy on that one map. Well anyway, that about wraps up my thoughts on tide pools and on this weekend's Champions run. I would be genuinely really interested to hear how you all get on. Once you've finished your run, therefore, come back here, let me know how you did. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe and slam that bell to be notified when a new video goes live. Also consider donating to my digital tip jar to help me keep going. The link's in the description below. Happy sailing, good luck in Champions, and see you on the battlefield!